Good morning, Trish.
Hey, Fran, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Refreshed.
Oh, that's good. Very good. So, welcome to Monday Moments with Fran and guest. It's so great to have you with us. Do you want to introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, I'm Trish Jones and I'm Fran's friend. Okay, apart from being Fran's friend, I am a coach and a speaker sometimes, author, but I also empower, encourage women to find their voice and rise up. It is time to rise up, women, and take your place of influence in life and business. So that's who I am.
Fantastic. So, thank you so much for being on here today. And today, I wanted us to really have a conversation around triumphing in tough times because let's be honest, a lot of people are going through tough times.
Yeah.
And so, for you, what are some really helpful ways that you think people can grow at this time and survive? I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest. The first thing, let's talk about what not to do. Binge Netflix, and do what I did in the early days. It's like, let's find an excuse to eat that chocolate. I really need popcorn. Let me binge watch this. And then it's like, no, no, no. I only did that for a few days, I must admit. I'm not really a TV watcher, full stop. But I think that sitting down basically and watching Netflix all day, uh, is not a good idea. I do think that this is an opportunity for people to skill up, but I say this with a kind of a little bit of caution, really, Fran,
Sure.
to say that, if you're in a position where you're about to lose your job and everything is on the line, it's so easy for us. Everybody's been talking about pivoting, skill up, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's so easy for us to just tell people, almost like get off your laurels, stop being so miserable and get on with it. I do think first and foremost that people have to get to that stage where they say, do you know what? This is an opportunity for me to maybe think about that thing that I've always wanted to do, but never got around to doing. But everybody moves at different stages at different times.
Yeah.
And so it's like we've got to be the encouragers, to encourage people to get to that point.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
not a time for finger pointing, so when I say that people, not watch Netflix all day, for some people that's where they're at, and I think that then others have to step in and help people, encourage them, give them that spark again, where they say, do you know what, I can do this. There is that thing that I wanted to do that and I've got the opportunity of doing it now. And so, yes, I think, we can encourage each other. And if people can even just take a book and read a section of a book per
Sure.
day, to help them to see the light of day. And you know what, switch off the TV. And I mean the news, right?
Oh my
Because
gosh,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
the mainstream media, switch off the mainstream media. I'm not saying that you are ignorant and you stick your head in the sand, but maybe if you can just take a day or two even and just say, let me see what it's like if I just don't listen to Boris today and mainstream media. And because every minute, even when it's getting better, the media has to say, oh my gosh, it's getting bad, we're going to have a second pandemic. And this really has been a fear pandemic, and I do not dismiss the fact that there has been a virus. I do not dismiss the fact that people have died, people have been ill, but the fear has been,
Yeah.
in my view, deliberate. I'm just
Sure.
saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to pick up on a couple of things you mentioned about everybody going at their own pace, really. And I think that's really helpful to acknowledge because although one person might be already pivoting and already doing everything different and really on it, for somebody else, their journey might be a little bit slower.
Yeah,
And actually, they're not to compare at all because we're all experiencing very different things for very different reasons as well. And I
absolutely.
absolutely agree about turning off the mainstream media
Mm,
because it can feel so overwhelming
yeah,
and you almost it can actually almost incite a lot of hopelessness in people
absolutely.
alongside the fear, and to have a few days like you suggested of just having none of that information, I
Mm,
think will really help people to have a different perspective really.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. If we want to get off that sofa, move away from Netflix, the perspective is the start of it. When we can see things differently, we do things differently.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. When we can see things differently, we do things differently. You might find that on a poster somewhere. Trish
That's
Jones.
okay.
I love my quote. And also, I think when we do move, that physical exercise, that outlet is so helpful
Yeah.
for us holistically to actually move, to get outside, to walk, to cycle, to do something to get your
Mhm.
body moving is really helpful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I must admit, I have not been fantastic with going for the walks. And Elodie keeps saying to me, Mummy, you really do need to get out and go for a walk. But when her and her dad go, I just love watching them. You know, it's, to me, it's daddy and daughter time. And, you know,
Oh.
it's like, I don't want to be interfering, you know.
Yeah, no,
um,
absolutely. And I get that. And actually, particularly when families are in lockdown together, it's quite important to be able to have that time apart from each other so that you can just have a little bit of space is healthy, right? Space
yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah. Having said that, I don't think we have a problem in this house. Always in my office. Chris is doing his own thing. Elodie's in the room, so we do have space apart. But it is good. Her and her dad love to go on walks together, and yeah, they come back with the goodies, but none for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we mentioned that, perhaps not watching loads of Netflix and eating all the junk and everything else. Anything else you'd say definitely is not helpful when we're having tough times?
Um, yeah, apart from talking about it all the time,
Mhm.
and in particular finding the negatives about it. you know um in the early days, for example, when they were talking about the things that you can do to build your immune system up, you would be amazed at the people who would take supplements normally but then turn around and say it's not relevant at this time. What virus do you know where, when you were growing up, whether it was a cold, flu, or whatever, where they didn't say, take the vitamin C, yeah, eat
Mm.
this? And remind me, you're from the Caribbean, aren't you?
My parents
Barbados.
from St. Vincent.
Oh, St. Vincent. Okay. Yeah. So, and my parents are from Jamaica. And, even my daughter, when she was really young, she went into school one day. She said to one of the kids, it's all right for you. You're lucky. When you get a headache or bellyache, you get cowpaw. I get ginger, lemon, honey. And she's naming all of these things, that she gets, right? Because I'm sorry, the amount of bottles of cowpaw that I chucked away when she was younger, you'd be surprised, because every time you go to the doctor and mention anything, oh, cowpole, and I'm like, no, I know something that does better than that. So yeah, what isn't helpful, this is linking back to eating junk. It is doing those things that can really enhance your body. And I don't think we can dismiss that our food is stripped of nutrients. Our water, we don't know what's in it. And I mentioned that not just to talk about diet and supplementation, but that in itself can actually reduce your mood. Yeah, my daughter takes Weltine, right? And let me tell you, if she goes through a phase where she doesn't take that Weltine, we know that we got a teenager in the house. Right? And that was before lockdown. So just imagine how much more important it is. So I'm just saying, don't keep talking about the negative stuff, and talk more about the positive stuff. Find a friend who can encourage even when you feel down. Yeah, get on that phone to that friend and talk about things that you love. Just change
Yeah.
the narrative is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Change the narrative, because
Yeah,
sometimes we can get really caught up with that being the main focus of the conversation.
yeah,
But to have a friend who you can have a good old belly laugh with,
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah,
that really just makes you laugh. And we know that laughing is so helpful and healing for our whole bodies is
yeah.
so important. I was speaking to a friend the other day and I said, actually, do you know what? I don't want to talk about the things that are going wrong. Let's just, tell me something funny. Tell me, what have you been doing? And just in being intentional
Yeah.
about the types of conversations that we're having.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I love that. Be intentional about the kinds of conversation we're having. And you know what? Get somebody to hold you accountable as well. You know, find a project and get somebody to hold you accountable. I'm about to launch my membership site, and I've got a cousin, and she's so inspiring, honestly. And she'll say, "Right, Patricia, I'm going to call you on Sunday evening, and we'll chat for ages about different things." And then she'll say, "Right, okay, down to business. Where are you at with this project?" And so I know that I'm going to have somebody saying, "Where are you at? What have you done?"
Yeah.
And, you know, it might only be a family member, but at the end of the day, she's holding my feet to the fire. And, you know, so that fires me up to say, you know, Trish, you better get on and do this, because Valerie's going to call you tomorrow, and you better not be saying to her, "Yeah, I've not done anything," or, you know, find another excuse. So yeah, get somebody to hold your feet to the fire. It's healthy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think then it takes away the opportunity or the likelihood for excuses in
Yeah.
relation to, well, I'm not going to do this. Because as much as some people are experiencing severely challenging and troublesome times, there
Yeah.
are a lot of people who actually haven't been massively impacted. And, you know, again, it's an opportunity to come out of this season
Mhm.
better and more healthier, having moved forward, versus just had some months of meaningless, you know, or being less productive, I should say, rather than meaningless, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, having someone hold you to account
Mhm. Mhm.
works.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny because what are we now? Is it 10 weeks now? 10, 11
I've
weeks?
lost count.
I think it's, I could be wrong. Maybe it's, yeah, anyway, maybe
It's a
it's,
lot.
yeah,
It's a
maybe
long
it's 8 or
time.
9, but it's around that time. And when you look back, you know, especially when it first happened, my daughter kept telling me, "It's going to happen, it's going to happen." And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And she said, "It is." And then for her, she came home from college one day because she wasn't feeling very well, and we didn't want to take any chances with either her not being well or going to her next lesson, passing it to somebody else, and they go and see grandparents, and, you know, grandparents are ill. And then that was the day that Boris mentioned that the exams the exams were cancelled.
Oh,
She cried for about 30 minutes. I mean sobbed for 30 minutes, and then kind of dried her tears and went, "I guess I'm a worker now, get on with YouTube," you know. But for her, it was the, "Oh my goodness me, everything has suddenly changed." And then within a moment, she said, "I'm not going to let this change affect me." And she
oh.
got on with her YouTube. And I'm going to mention her, not because I'm bragging about my daughter, but because I'm talking about how things can change in a moment. She kind of dried her eyes and said, "Right, okay, I suppose that means I'm a working woman now, you know, 18 years old, get on with it." And she carried on doing her YouTube, and things have just like really exploded for her until she came into my office one day and sat down and said, "Mummy, I want to start a membership site." I was like, "Really?" She said, "But I don't know what on." And I just looked at her as if, "You already know what you should be doing, girl." And she said, "Okay." And in a day, Fran, she put me to shame. In a day, she came out with the name, the logo. I told her what network she might want to use. She went online and she did it. And she's just waiting for Apple to approve the use of the app now, because, you know, these young people are not going to use PC and laptops, right? And and she just got it done. And what I'm saying to people is that if you, in that moment, just decide that you're going to do something, it will just change. It literally will change everything, because it's like almost like having a dog, right? Where you can't focus on you, because this is the point I want to make, that sometimes we got to turn the situation around, so we're not just focusing on us.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got somebody else that we are looking, so we've had the accountability, but what about being in that situation where you're saying, "This isn't just about me, there's somebody else that I can help." And I think that that is useful during this time. The people that have called me up, Fran, I'm shocked, or have emailed me, "Hey, how are you guys doing during this pandemic?" People that I didn't expect to hear from, and
Yeah.
and it's really made my heart feel I feel blessed.
Oh, that is nice, and you're right. I think that's beautiful, and congratulations to your daughter on really growing her YouTube channel.
Mm.
What's the name of it, by the way, in case anybody wants to go and have a look?
Well, she calls her name Elodie Christina, so that's her two names. So she's left off the Jones. So, but if you type in Elodie, Elodie, you will find her. She's, I think, at the top of YouTube. Yeah.
Fabulous. And yeah, that ability to really consider that there are other people who need to hear what we've got to say, or need to be inspired, encouraged, motivated, educated. And when we really see it as an opportunity to almost serve them through our gift and through our passions,
Yeah.
it takes the focus off ourselves, and also I think our emotions and where we're at and stuff. And yeah, that's definitely a really helpful thing.
Yeah, because we've got to remember, when they mentioned about domestic violence rising during this time as well, and I've been speaking to my daughter, and she's been saying, some of the kids even that she knows that are having a real hard time in lockdown with their parents, and so whilst it's okay for everyone to do rah rah rah, let's get on with it, there are some people who are backed in a corner who feel that they're trapped. And so what I'm trying to do, Fran, is be mindful and not try to say that everything is just so okie-dory now, and I'm fine, so therefore you've got to be fine, because it really isn't like that. And I'm just saying that when it's I know there's a scripture somewhere, and I'm trying to think what it says, but it's effectively, if you're the stronger one, you've got to help the weaker one.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the whole purpose of encouragement, isn't it? It's to offer
Yeah.
that help to somebody else, to let them know that things will get better. There are some practical things we can do, like we've spoken about today, such as making sure you're having those good old fashioned remedies that we know work.
Yeah.
You're having good nutrition, you're getting exercise, you're finding friends to talk and laugh with. You're being really intentional about that, as well as not watching so much TV or being bombarded by the news and all of the challenging, and sometimes a lot of the negativity that is shared. So all of that, I think, helps people to kind of get through to that next day, that next week,
Yeah.
until we finally come out, whatever that looks like as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now as well, one day I was here, and I heard this car pull up on my drive, and I'm like, what's that? Who's that? And I looked out, and it was my aunt. And I said, hi. She said, she came out of the car, and she just stood by the car door. She said, I came to see my family. I just missed my family, and I was touched. But for her, because she lives on her own, she works, and she works helping an old lady, and but for her, she needed to see her family, and just that contact, where it might just be at the front door. And I've seen one of my previous pastors, he puts on Facebook, and he's got the grandchildren outside the front door, and he's looking through the window, and he's got a video camera there, and they're waving. Even that level of contact can actually be medicine, make use of it, so
Definitely. Yeah, I do think one of the things that this season has really, I guess, really brought home to me is that as humans, we've been made for interaction and communication.
Absolutely.
We're meant to live in community. And I think also it's a good reminder for us to, I always say, encourage people to check in on other people, to, like you said, send the messages, give them a call, do a video call, even if you can drive outside their house and wave hello. All of that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And if you feel like, oh, well, no one does that for me, will you be the one to do that for somebody else?
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
rather than just wait for things, actually be the one to be more proactive and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. One other example, it was my dad's 70th, because this year was all the big things happening. It was my dad's 70th, my sister's 50th, my little niece's first birthday next month, great niece that is. And anyway, it was going to be my sister's birthday, and she didn't have she was going to have a party, so party wasn't going to be on. So I went, okay, that's it, we're having Zoom bashment. Okay. So we did. We had a Zoom party, and all of our family got on there, and we had, honestly, Fran, we had a blast. And her birthday is the 7th of May, and mine is the 9th. Well, the next day when I'm talking to everyone, everyone's going, well, it's yours and Rachel's birthday on Saturday, so why don't you do it again? And I said, really, you want to do it again? So we did it again. And we did things as a family that we don't normally do, playing charades, you know, just the games coming out was just, you know, and people were texting me the next day saying, oh my gosh, you know, you did it again. That was really, really fantastic. It was just something different. And what did it cost?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's that, isn't it? It's choosing to be creative
Yeah.
and think outside the box rather than look at all of what can't be done, but considering actually, hang on, well, what can be done? How can we still make this? How can we still make this work? So I love that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So one final word from you, just to encourage the people listening today.
You know what? One thing is just try to find something to smile about. If it's even a memory that brings a smile to your heart, try and find that one thing. Sometimes we want to do 50 million things and our head's scrambled with everything that's going on. And I would just say, find that one thing that can bring a smile to your heart. And if you feel down, try and come back to that one thing, because just the smile from your heart will actually be a foundation, a catalyst for you to be able to do so many other things.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing today, Trish. I really appreciate it. I hope for those of you who regularly, listen and watch Monday Moments with Fran, that you found today a bit of fresh inspiration and you've learned something as well. As I always say, remember to go and encourage somebody else, and have a great week. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Fran. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye.